Alright, boom. Welcome back, guys. Gabe the Great back here again with another video. I told you guys I'd do 2 videos today, so I'm doing 2 videos today. Once again, I'm gonna try not to curse in the first 30 minutes. Someone told me that the first time I did that, I guess the algorithm pushed my video to somebody new. So I got like 20 views on a video. So that's pretty dope. Anyway, so today I want to talk about something that I kind of briefly hit on in my last video. I talked about how like a lot of my content has changed over the years. I first came on YouTube in 2017 as like a 2K YouTuber. I gained like my first 1,000 subs in like under 90 days. I gained my first 100 subs in 30 days, my first 1,000 subs in 90 days. And at the time, I didn't know that was like big. I didn't know that like, oh, that's important. I was trying to find my life, because prior to 2017, I had spent, at that point I was in 2016, 2017, I was 26 years old. And by that point I had spent 13 years in a cult. And by the time I was 21, I was a cult leader. I was a leader in that cult. And at 24, really 2012, 23, 22 years old. By 22 years old, I was pretty much a church leader. And then at 24, they asked me to lead my own congregation. And so, one of the reasons why the pivot into talking about Trump and talking about MAGA and getting political is twofold. One, I had an incident happen with my daughter where she got her special education teacher took advantage of her. And so that threw me hyper political, right? I used to tell people like most of my life I was conservatively apathetic, meaning that I genuinely don't care what laws they put in place, because as a black man, I understood that it don't matter what laws they put in place. If I get inside of a courtroom, I'm a black man and I'm poor. I'm poor more importantly than black, but I'm poor. And so I knew that it didn't matter what laws they wrote. But for the most part, I would line up with conservative ideology or conservative principles. As I got older, and particularly when my daughter was abused, and I saw everything that happened with that threw me left. But then by this point, that was 2023. By that point, MAGA's a big thing, right? But I wanted to share all that with you guys today, sort of where I come from and what's going on, and how being raised in a cult and how being a cult leader prepared me for MAGA. Because I came out of my cult in 2016. I left my cult March 27th, 2016. Now, let me tell you guys something about being in a cult. When you're in a cult, there is no outside world. So, for instance, I miss Drake's run, like when he was like the man, 2009 to 2000. Like, I learned about Drake when I was trying to recruit somebody to my cult. I'll never forget, it was Cal State, LA. And when you're trying to recruit people into your cult, there's even scriptures in the Bible that talks about becoming all things to all men. And so I'm trying to relate to people. I'm trying to recruit people into my cult. That's how I found about Drake. And I really learned about Drake because someone I was doing team ministry, and one of the teams were really into him. But I missed all the cultural shit. I missed, because I went into the cult in 2008. So 2009 to 2016 LeBron, I missed that. All the major news, everything. When you're in a cult, you are in your own world. Everything gets interpreted through the cult. I'm actually in a lawsuit with them right now, but everything gets interpreted through the cult. Like, what people don't understand about cults is the reason why cults work is because, well, there's many reasons why cults work, but one of the reasons why cults work, one of the methodologies I should say that they use is repetition, indoctrination, right? Because it's very simple. Whoever gets to the brain the most has it, right? It doesn't need to be right. It doesn't need to be truthful. If I get to your brain more than anybody else, I have it. And so that's why cults will like often, that's why they radicalize people. The reason why they radicalize people is because they need you to get into their system. And so I dove head first because I was like, man, this is it. I thought this was the movement of God, and I was gung-ho about it. I dropped out of college, and you know, I left towards the end of 2015 and beginning of 2016, when I, as a church leader, found out that we weren't doing with the money with what we were saying we were doing with the money. We were telling all these people that the money was going to missions, when in actuality the money wasn't going to missions. And it didn't. I left my cult not because I thought it was a cult, or because I thought it was a bad cult. Because when you're in the cult, you hear that your cult's a cult, but you don't care. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. You don't care that people say it's a cult. You know that you're in a cult, but you don't care. But I didn't leave my cult because I thought it was a cult. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. People don't leave MAGA because, oh, it's a cult, so I left. That's not why people will leave MAGA. That's not why. I left my cult because I didn't believe that they lined up with the beliefs that we said we had, right? I felt like that was wrong. I felt like us doing that with the money was wrong. And for me, it was a betrayal because I'm like, fam, this is family. I've given up everything for this. If somebody needed something for some money, just say that, bro. I have no problem. Because again, we're in a cult. I have total authority over my congregation. If I tell these guys to go stand on the corner, beg for money for the church, they are going to do that. And I'm not joking. I've ordered people to do that. I've ordered people to give $500 a week to the church. I've had people, change who they're going to marry, change who they're date, whether or not they have kids. Like, I've moved people, and I've done it. It's been done to me too. And so it's one of those things where at the time I didn't leave the cult because I was like, oh, this is an evil, nasty cult. I left the cult because I felt betrayed. I was like, fam, like, if y'all needed help in this way, just say it. Like, for me, I'm like, I was like, fam, like, we family. Just say what the need is, and it's cool. But when y'all start going about it in a sneaky way, and I gotta ask 3, 4, 5 people for answers, when I know the one person who has the answer is ducking me, something's up here. I'm just the nigga. Because I remember talking about this with, and it goes into MAGA, white supremacy, and all of this. And I was talking about this with another guy who was in the cult for a while. And we were talking about how since we left, we've taken more radical, hardcore stances against the cult, so why other people don't. And it truly has to do with our blackness, because our blackness in a white supremacist society forces us to see the world in a way that most of society doesn't. And it forces us to see the world in a way that most of it gives us an aspect of reality that most people want to pretend doesn't exist. But that whole experience, going through the cult, rising through the ranks, converting people, indoctrinating people, being indoctrinated myself, giving up everything, and then coming out of it, finding out it was a cult, it really prepared me for what MAGA was. As a matter of fact, when I came out in 2016, I thought nothing of MAGA, because to me, once I realized I was in a cult, I started seeing cults everywhere. I started seeing MAGA being a cult. I started to see all political parties in some ways are a cult. If you are voting for a political party because that you're a part of that political party, in some way you are in a cult, because you're not even thinking with your vote. You're just voting Democrat or voting Republican because that's the team you're on, right? I saw them in sports teams. Cults have these, or sports have these cult-like followings. Celebrities have cult-like followings, right? And so I start to see cults everywhere. And it was very discouraging, to be completely honest. It was very discouraging. It was very nihilistic. It was very hopeless, because I was like, it's one thing to get duped. It's one thing to be like, I gave up everything for this. Who I married, dropping out of school. Like, I changed my entire life because I believed in this movement. I believed that this, was the movement of God, and we're going to change the world and this and that. And to find out the head guy living in $1 million condo and sitting with M's in the bank, and we just out here I'm begging for my wife and 2 kids we can get we were getting paid $48,000 at the time, and I'm like, I'm trying to get like a salary. I got to go back and forth about like a $5,000 salary increase, but all the people above me making 6 and 7 figures, and I'm like, hold on, man, right? And so, but that part is one thing to get duped like that, but then to go back out into the world and then go, oh shit, man, everything is a cult, all of it. And then to see MAGA, it was like, god damn, bro. Like I recognize MAGA from the beginning. Like a lot of you guys, and be honest, a lot of you guys just started saying that MAGA is a cult recently. Like, I saw it the second I came out of a cult. I was like, oh, that's a cult too. I was like, oh yeah, that's a cult. That's like, because in cults, you talk about cults. You talk about what a cult is, what it looks like, and so like, bro, I was so good at converting in my cult, and I've told this story many times over, but this is how powerful cults are. I once took I took a guy's phone. He was about to get baptized into our cult, and he was having doubts. We're at this session called the counting the cost session. And in the counting the cost session is basically like it's basically reverse psychology. It's basically where like, it's like, all right, we've indoctrinated you to get you all excited and ramped up to 12 out here. We got you all excited and ramped up to, get converted and join our cult. But now we're going, are you really ready? That's all it was, right? And so it is all about trying to like do this reverse psychology, like kind of manipulate the person. And so one time I took a guy's phone, went on Google on his phone, typed in our church, and brought up all the websites where it showed him it was a cult. And I said, hey man, they say we a cult out there. You still want to get baptized? Dude got baptized 30 minutes later. Because what people don't understand about cults is that cults are the natural byproduct of us searching for meaning. Human beings at their core are meaning makers. From the second you came into existence, you were searching for meaning. You were looking for meaning. From the second you came out of your mother's womb, that first cry, this is why, like, as parents, remember like being in the room when your child was born, and remember you heard that first cry, and instinctively you went, I'm right here, baby, daddy's here, I love you. Like, remember that the first time you heard your son or daughter's cry? Well, the reason why you knew in your gut, and nobody can tell you to this day, that they weren't trying to, like, figure out where they're at, what's going on, is because instinctively as a parent and as another conscious being, you knew those first cries, those first clues were a search for meaning. Where am I? Who is this? Where are the voices I recognize? Right? We know infants can recognize their parents' voice within the first few months of being in the womb. And so those first few cries, you're searching for meaning. Your entire life, you're searching for meaning. Right? If you ever watch babies, all babies do, they put this in their mouth. What does that mean? They grab this, they touch that. Like, they're constantly searching for meaning. We constantly search for meaning, right? It's why we get on YouTube. It's why you look at YouTube videos. It's why, like, we are meaning makers. Cults are a way that people can have meaning, because the world, or not the world, but the universe, it appears to be almost infinite, constantly expanding. And it's one of these things of like, what am I doing here? Okay, I'm here now. Now what? Same thing as when we were 1 second old. Okay, what's going on here? Why am I here? Right? And we're trying to figure it out. Our whole life, we're trying to figure out, why are we here? What's our purpose? What's our purpose? What's our purpose? Right? Religion, right? Religion, that's what religion is. And so you have this religion in Jesus. Here's what people don't get. Every religion started out as a sect, started out as a cult, right? And so you have this long-standing religion, right? Jesus, that started out as a cult, but it came in, but eventually morphed into a religion. All religions start out as cults, and the life cycle of a religion is that they start out as cults and become religions. And so you have this thing that started out as a cult, started out as the Jesus followers, right? The people who just follow Jesus. But it gives meaning, right? In Jesus, you can find your purpose in life, the right and wrong, what happens after I die, how am I supposed to live, who am I supposed to marry? Like, the Bible gives you all these answers. And cults are how we search for meaning. And so a lot of people, what they get wrong with MAGA, and what I be telling people, bro, stop getting mad at MAGA. MAGA answers life's greatest questions for people. Why is my life this way? Why am I suffering? Right? How do we fix it? How does it get better? What's the purpose? What's the plan? Like, it big questions. And this is the thing that people don't get. The reason why MAGA is so effective is because Donald Trump is able to perform leadership. He's not he's not a true leader, because a leader leads you into purpose. A leader leads you into that meaning making process, right? You're a meaning maker. You're making meaning of this video, right? You didn't click on this video without making meaning of it. You read the title, you saw the thumbnail or whatever, you made meaning of that. And as you've engaged with this video all the way up to this point, you've been making meaning. You're a meaning maker. It's what you do. But the biggest questions of life, why am I here? All these. We need confident, charismatic people who are willing to step up and say, hey, this is what you do. This is the meaning of life. This is how we're going to do it. That's what MAGA does. What Make America Great Again is it gives people a slogan to march on to. This is why when you see these MAGA people, they're decked out in the gear. They're decked out and you say they're voting against their right. It's not about rights for them. Y'all don't understand. We live in a hollow society. I talk about this in my manifesto, how the issue with the ruling class and the issue with trying to bind people to a constitution that was not written for them, right? The Constitution was written to exclude most Americans that are alive today. That is objectively true. The founding fathers did not want a society of 330 million people of a diverse population. That is objectively true. You can amend that as much as you want. But the problem is, when these people who don't want equality for all are the dictators of equality for all, you have a hollowness to your society. And there's a hollowness to American society. You go to work, but you feel empty. You go to work, but it's not enough. You jump through the hoops, you do everything that America told you to do, and you still get shitted on. You see people, and it's amalgamation of a lot of stuff. You see this person get ahead and that person get ahead, and so somebody gives you answers. Oh, they're getting ahead because they're DEI hires. Oh, they're getting ahead because Joe Biden is giving illegal immigrants, they're using your tax dollars to give illegal immigrants, rights that you don't have, right? DEI is making your kids hate themselves. That's why your kid is depressed. No, your kid's depressed because life is fucking depressing, and maybe because you're not doing a great job being in their life. That's probably why your kid's depressed, right? But these guys, they give people answers. They give people answers to the biggest heartaches of life. And so it's not about voting against or voting for my rights. It's about identity. People aren't gonna leave MAGA, like the people in real life. Bro, I'm telling y'all, these people will create a religion out of Donald Trump after he dies. You guys think that's funny. You guys think that's lunacy, but that is literally how Christianity started. And I don't think all of them are going to do it, because I think we live in a day and age where there's so much information that when people go to struggle through the wilderness of meaning making, and once they see how MAGA didn't deliver on any of his promises, I think when people go through that, I think people are going to see it. But there is going to be that population of people who they're going to deify this man, and they've already have, and they've been trying to. And Donald Trump has been smart and made it to where the path to power is deifying me, right? That's the path to power, right? Make me into a deity. Make me powerful. Make me seem powerful to the people. That's the pathway to a better life now. And they see that. They see that. They see that actualized with the people around him. They see these people who were hardcore MAGA people for a long time, and they get promoted to the... See, we look at Pete Hegseth, the Fox News guy, getting promoted to Secretary of Defense, and we go, well, that's fucking stupid. And it is fucking stupid. But if you're in MAGA, that is, wow, that's MAGA working. There's a guy who he bought into MAGA and it paid off for him. There's a guy I watched every day. He's just like me. Identity. These are the people that white supremacy didn't care about. These are the people that the elites didn't care about. These are the people that, right? Cults typically start with the fringe population. And one of the interesting things about America is that we're so dysfunctional now, is that even the most put together people, there's something in their life probably where it's just broken. And so these how cults are able to get in here. So being in a cult really helped me for MAGA, and it's why I'd be like, yo, no, you got to radicalize. You got to radicalize. You got to radicalize. Because you can't beat these guys with facts, evidence, logic. Like, I don't even like watching videos about owning MAGA. Oh, and MAGA doesn't understand it. I know that, bro. They kind of know that too. But the difference is Donald Trump gives them hope. You don't. Donald Trump is going to give them something you're never going to get them. Hope. You're going to make fun of them. You're going to tell them, you know, that is somebody else's fault, that is out of their, that is their fault, right? But what you will not give MAGA is hope. What you will not give that side is a way to make their lives better. And you say, oh, just vote for these people. These are people who are, you think they're unintelligent, but they're just a different part of reality. And what they understand is what you like to play along with. Because this is the thing. America is one big gaslight. Like I said, you can't get equality. White supremacists cannot write a constitution that gives equality to non-white people. It's not possible. Slave owners will not write a document that gives equality to their slaves' children or their descendants. It's not possible. And so it's all bullshit. And so if you get ahead in this in American society, you have to bullshit. You don't have the choice because it's all bullshit. And so a lot of the MAGA people, maybe they can't articulate it, but in their spirit and their soul, they go, this is bullshit. Okay, yeah, everybody's lying, but at least when when Donald Trump lies, I know he's lying. When you lie, I gotta figure it out. I have to be more intelligent than I am to figure out your lies. So they're going to excuse the lies. Oh, he was joking. Oh, he's trolling. Oh, he's owning libs and da-da-da. And they're going to tell themselves that over and over and over again until they believe it. Why? Because it gives meaning. You want to strip meaning from their life. Of course they're going to fight. Of course they fought like hell on January 6th. Donald Trump gave them something. He gave the average white person, the average poor white person, something that they haven't had since at no point in the history of this country, which is an identity. Which is an identity. They're going to look back at MAGA, and what they're going to say about MAGA is that MAGA was the first time in American history where poor whites had a voice. And they used that voice to try to get hold of the dream that their founding fathers said was for them. Their founding fathers said that this would be a white nation for them. That's what their founding fathers promised them. You can be upset about that all you want to. You can act like that's not real. But these guys have history books. That's the thing. The white supremacists didn't die. The white supremacists wrote. The white supremacists gave speeches. The white supremacists went underground. The white supremacists met in homes. They have documented their journey. You want to discredit and dehumanize the white supremacists. Like them niggas not part of the universe just like you. They part of the universe just like me. Every white supremacist is part of the universe just like me. And I have no right to say what's right any more than they do. And that's a hard pill for people to swallow. That's a very hard pill for people to swallow because we want to demonize people, we want to categorize people, but y'all don't understand what white supremacy does. White supremacy gives motherfuckers identity. White supremacy it gives people orientation. You ever been a human without orientation? You ever been a human being? You ever been a meaning maker and not know what to make meaning of? You ever been a meaning maker and not know what meaning is? Right? This is what MAGA does. MAGA answers those big questions for them. MAGA gives them identity. MAGA gives them purpose. MAGA gives them a mission. And so are they wrong? Or is it baseless? Is it racist? Yeah. But are you going to give them identity? And that's a big, when I went into my manifesto and my theory of everything, because part 1 is the theory of everything, I talk about that. I talk about how, white supremacy is this myth that the ruling class gave to poor whites. But poor whites never had a country. Poor, uneducated white people have never had a country. Right? And that's why I've been talking about it a lot, how black people, non-white people, like we're pawns of white supremacy. The purpose of white supremacy is to dupe poor whites. Y'all don't get it. Donald Trump delivers on his promises just by being in office. Just by someone being in office shouting what they want to hear. They don't believe their lives are going to get better. They don't really believe that. They don't think that. People go, why do people stay in cults? Well, what are the alternatives? What's the alternative to leave the cult? Okay, I'm going to leave the cult, and then literally what am I going to do with my life? All my friends, I was going to the cult 2, 3, 4 times a day. These people consume MAGA all day long. What are they going to do? Their social group is MAGA. What are they going to do when they go online now? You don't have those answers for them, but you want them to disconnect from everything that gives them meaning. It's an unreasonable position. And people don't like that. People just want to go, they're wrong, they're racist, and so therefore they should what? In what system? Who has actualized a actual justice system in the United States of America? That's part of the reason why they're white supremacists. Because if white people are on top, they fucking win. They get justice their way, nigga. At least that's what they think, right? And so being a cult really it helped me. I think it's why I have the responses that I have and why I take the stances that I take. But y'all gotta accept that people in MAGA are human beings. They're human beings. Yes, stupid people need to be told when they're stupid. Yes, racist people need to be told when they're racist. But if you don't get at the deeper truths and go, okay, are you going to give them purpose? My thing is, I want to free poor white people from the shackles of whiteness. I just ask white people, what has your whiteness got you in life? Nothing. So why do you claim it? My blackness gets me somewhere, bro. My swag, my style, the fact that y'all fetishize black men, the way my blackness gets me currency in certain circles, bro. If your whiteness isn't getting you anything, why do you claim it? Whoa, it's American. No, it's not, bro. Go look it up. This was the 1600s. The Black Lives Matter and the MAGA guy would be marching to Elon Musk's plantation to burn that bitch down. Go look up history. Go look up how the white indentured servants and the black slaves rocked together. It wasn't perfect. Well, no, I'm not saying it was kumbaya, but look at what happened. Look at the rebellions. Look at the revolts. White supremacy has worked very well for over 400 years for the ruling class. Why is everybody surprised and upset that they push the pedal to the floor on the white supremacy knob? They just turn the white supremacy sliders up. It always works. All right, so that's what I want to say about that, man. Hopefully that helped you guys. Love you guys. Bye.